What is going on? So, as I hit live, Gail was saying, I feel that it is time for the breaking up to come back together. And given the fact that you and I are hosting a workshop on Saturday around connection, I think that that was a perfect place to go live and kind of share your thoughts around what that looks like for you, because I think it's really a profound statement when it comes to the work that you and I do with ourselves and the work that we encourage and role model for other people to bear witness to.
Well, what's interesting is I am creating posts on the seventh stage of alchemization, and at the same time creating a training that will be on Substack around here's what shows up during this phase. This is what you'll feel, see, experience. Here are some things you can do about being in that stage. Like the last stage, and I feel like this is where we're at. The sixth stage is the dark night of the soul. So what happens is we come apart and then we come back together and we think we're done. And a lot of people stop there. But I'm feeling like, no, it's time to break apart again in order to come back together purer. Because there's a purity that has to happen. At least for me, that's what I'm feeling. A purification. And I
It's
think what it
it's
is,
interesting you say that because me being the theology nerd that I am, I think about the line from A Course in Miracles that says, "Miracles at everybody's right, but purification is needed first." And when I first read that years ago, I was really kind of butthurt. I'm like, "What do you mean?" Right? But what I understood was really it wasn't that I was bad or good, right or wrong. It was that I was so disillusioned that if until I was able to let go of a lot of the ideals and beliefs and the behaviors that I had become accustomed to that were just by instinct the way I showed up. I was never going to be able to bear witness to the miracles that are existing all the time. And I think when you said you see a coming apart in order to come together, for me, and I don't want to say this for you or anybody else, but I fundamentally learned connection in the breaking apart. One, because you're so raw and vulnerable, you have no choice but to connect with yourself and others. Because I don't know that I would have like been able to come out the other side the way I did had I not. But more than that, in that place, I was able to see that the miracles around us are the connections that we have. It's the gifts that are in plentitude all the time. But until I was able to break from my old thinking, my old connections, my old habits, my old idea of what relationships were, I was never going to be able to receive what was there for me to take hold of in ever. Like.
so it's interesting. So I will write down random thoughts, and I think I'll write a post about that. But I move on so quickly to the next that that's now old news, right? And so two of the thoughts that I wrote down, one was separation is an illusion, right? That that we create separation, and that the only reality is the fact that we are connected, and that we are everything is just one. So it's separation. That was the latest. The separation is an illusion, right? And so the battle that I feel when I go through these, and guys, you don't reach a goal, right? You get better at handling stuff as it comes up. Um, but as I go through this, I really appreciate the fact that I am able to break apart to come back together again, because I know that it's required. And when it's from love, right? It happens sometimes in a nanosecond, sometimes seamlessly, but it always happens with grace and compassion now.
Mm. Well, it's interesting. I think that um, my gift to break apart, I mean, is that I'm willing to like continue to do that, but also that I can speak and put voice to it real time.
Yeah.
We look at so many of these people's experiences and it's so beautiful. It really is because they're open and they're learning. But when you can put it like to voice real time, the connections that you have, the ability to come back from feeling like you're filleted or that like you're you're in this like ugh state. Again, it's a gift. It's a gift I give myself and it's a gift I wish for the world is that, you know, instead of seeking an understanding of why things are, seek to connect with people who can help you get through it because you don't always have to know why. Like, we can't know why until
That's
we've
the
come out of it
illusion.
on the other end.
That's the illusion. That's one of
Yeah.
the other, right? Our ego and thinking brain thinks that there has to be a lineal process or a reason or or an excuse, like I'm broken or my grandfather did this to me or whatever the story is. When I finally realized that it's just a story, like all that stuff in the past isn't what's showing up now. There's something going on right now. It's this moment's experience. It's not bullshit coming up that I'm still carrying with me. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. And for me, I guess like I always I feel like it's the same wounds just peel back more deeply, more deeply, more deeply, more deeply until it no longer presents itself at all. That's just been my experience. So, um, but yeah, and then obviously new things present themselves because we're growing and expanding. And to grow and expand means you have to face new trials and tribulations to grasp and understand, and then have the resiliency and ability to move through that to move towards greater ascension, really, greater understanding of self, greater understanding of connection, greater understanding of vulnerability, which vulnerability is connection. And that's really what I hope for people to achieve this Saturday is to come together and to put aside what they think they know about connection, to put aside what they think they know about vulnerability, and to just be open to whatever comes to them in that moment and trust that that's exactly what they're supposed to move through in that moment. And I trust that you and I have the capacity to bear witness to without trying to change a person's experience, just to love them through it.
Yeah, and I love that you said try not to change someone's experience, right? And that it is so important to me that whoever I'm working with, I allow them to have their own experience, right? The only course correction I make is when they deflect from it, right? And I will bring them back to center. One of the interesting things that I know I struggled with for a while is that there is, because everything is a story, there is no right or wrong, there is no good or bad. There is, everything is a story that we have created in order to function in this third dimensional experience. And so I can drop my judgment of what's right or wrong and make choices based on alignment with me. It may not align with you, and that's okay. It's
Mm.
okay, right? It's okay.
I love that. I was just telling you before we went live, I canceled an interview I had earlier because I was in such bliss. I was in such peace. I'm like, why do I feel the need to disrupt this peace? In the past, I would have felt compelled to honor that commitment. And now I feel like the best way for me to honor that individual and myself is to honor myself, because in that I show up as pure love. And I know that when I do that, when we come together, it will be in divine timing, because if I wasn't called to do it, I wasn't called to do it. And that's like force. And I really am working toward being that mirror for people, that they don't have to force things anymore, that we no longer have to try to make things be what we have been conditioned to believe they have to be. We have to do it this way. We have to showcase this, because we don't, and it's interesting because right now I'm working on a program with a school district, and it's a suicide prevention program, and I sat in a training last week, which, mind you, reminded me why those are god awful, and I don't do 8-hour trainings. But besides the point, um, I realized how many people within this framework of work are so attached to their old parents' behaviors and stuff. They're looking to change a paradigm, but they're not willing to look at doing it differently or give themselves permission to even possibly consider a different perspective. And yet they want things to change. And I'm like, you can't have both. You have to shake up the experience, or you have to live with the fact that things aren't going to change, and it's just the way it is. And I'm fine
Yep.
with one of the and the thing is you and I both know things are going to change. Things are going to feel harder and harder and harder until somebody allows themselves to shake up the experience. But it's still interesting to just watch more and more people um feel compelled to hold tightly to what it is they know, even though if you look all around you, what it is isn't working, and it hasn't for a really long time.
And what I've been witnessing is that folks are hanging on tighter to the old stories out of fear, right? Out of fear for the change. And yes, they want the change, but meanwhile, they're holding on tighter. And I look at the change, and I wrote this in one of my trainings. I look at it like you can hang on to it, but it's like water. It's going to seep through your
Yeah,
fingers anyway,
it's true.
right? So let it just like rip off the band-aid. You rip off the band-aid. No, we're not going to be ripping off band-aids on Saturday.
Well, unless you want us to, and then I'll be glad to
We might.
do that. I'm always the one
Right.
who dove head first into the fire and then looked back and was like, "Well, that was quite the ride." But anyway, so what is it that you hope, Gail, that people take away from our workshop, and why you've been called to put this workshop together alongside of me and Lindsay Height from Show Your Spark Studio?
Well, um, well, I hope people get out of it what they intend when they show up. What I want to bring to that event is to create a cocoon of love and safety and compassion so that the process of shedding and the meditation I will be using will be a shedding meditation. The shedding of all of the stuff that you've hung on to in order for the pure, beautiful essence of you to shine through. And whatever that essence is, it's your frequency, not mine, and embrace it. It's a
Mm.
beautiful thing,
Uh, If you
right?
could sum up in one word what connection means to you, could you? Would you?
I don't think people would understand, but for me, it is a
Mm.
profound peace.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say it's love. It's love in its finest form, you know, without barriers, borders, stories, resistance, habits, and old behavior.
Expectations, jealousy, blame,
Yeah.
right?
And you're right.
Oh,
I told you right before I came on, like, I didn't want to leave peace this morning, like, and so, but I'm here and
yeah.
I'm glad to be here with you. It's a blessing.
It is such a blessing. And I'm going to be mixing the cacao cups for the ceremony probably Wednesday. So, guys, if you're going to join so I have enough cups ready for all of us, so that we can set the stage and create our safe space in order to maybe even create an altar
And
before we
the
start.
last thing I want to say, guys, is a safe space resides within yourself. Ultimately, Gail and I, yeah, we want you to delight in the joy of being you through connection. But when you connect with yourself, you create a safe space wherever you go. And it's interesting because I see so many people clinging to that fear. Yet I also see so many people clinging to love and themselves and staying grounded in what feels very, very true for them and not being swayed by the narratives that are being shared all over their place, right? And so on Saturday, I really encourage you to consider joining our workshop and coming to, if nothing else, understand how you can protect your peace real time in any given experience so that you feel safe at all times, because we are inherently entitled to that, and it makes a profound difference in how you show up in your everyday life all the time with the people you love, with the people you work with the people that may disagree with your ideologies. It just provides you with a way to nurture yourself so you don't have to feel so defensive. You don't have to feel defensive at all, and you feel more confident in just being able to honor yourself, however that looks like, without worrying about the good opinion of anybody else. And that is power. That's real power when you're not concerned about the good opinion of anybody else. And that includes family members, that includes your lover, that includes your children, which I know firsthand because I've gone through those experiences myself. So, you know,
And that includes your
yes.
ego. So one of the other things that crossed my mind today is, I'm not saying kill ego. When I say we are unified and we are all one, that includes ego. Ego is also who I am. It's uh, not allowing ego to
Yeah.
take control, but to play the role it's
I
meant to play.
forget who. I think it's a Liz Gilbert who says, "Ego can have a seat at my table, but doesn't get the final say." And I'm like, I love it. I love it so much.
Yep.
It's I'm gonna so to join, Gail will put all the details. It's this Saturday, in Braintree, Massachusetts, at the Show You Spark Studio. It is a warm and inviting place where you will be nurtured and supported. I do encourage, if you join though, dress warm because the temperatures go up and down, and I was cold last time. And but I will say, yesterday I watched this story done on the two popes, the one who stepped down to the one who is currently a pope now. And as I was looking at the Pope's ego, and then at the end of the movie, how he allowed love to take center stage over the choice that he made for the good of what he felt his community. It was a really beautiful uh movie to be able to witness that evolution in in relationship to others. And that's the thing, is when you have that connection, guys, other people can help you be a mirror for yourself, so that way you can give your ego permission to step down and still feel safe. That doesn't have to be in charge, that it can still, have a seat at the table, but that love's always going to prevail. And that's true connection, is when you feel confident enough to make the choice from a place of love rather than fear. That is the ultimate hope that I have for everybody, is that when push comes to shove, when you feel like your backup is against the wall and you have a decision to make, are you going to make one based out of fear, or are you going to make it out of unconditional love? And unconditional love is proven to be so much more powerful, guys. So you might as well lean into love now, because at the end of the day, it's going to win the day no matter what. So
The meek shall inherit the earth, and that is love.
it really is. All right, guys, with so much love, we will
See you guys on Saturday. Sign up and
Saturday. I'm
join
very
us.
excited.
Okie dokie. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.